What's up, everybody? Thanks again for stopping by for another edition of March 4th with Mike Bauman. I, of course, am your host, Mike Bauman. Whoever you are, wherever you are listening from, thank you so much for checking out the podcast. If you're a returning listener, I greatly appreciate your continued love and support. And if you're a brand new listener of the show, man, thank you so much for hopping aboard that pirate ship. You can follow me on Instagram at March 4th Pod, on YouTube at March 4th Pod. My website is march4th.podbean.com. The link tree with all of my stuff is in the podcast description for this episode. Y'all made it here, so you found me somehow. And I truly appreciate each and every one of you checking out another edition of the March 4th with Mike Bauman podcast. I hope that everybody is doing well out there. I hope that everybody had a happy Halloween. Now we get into the real thick of the fall and the winter. Before you know it, it's going to be winter. And I know you guys are like, Mike, come on, fall just started, man. But I'm excited because the holiday season is truly my favorite time of the year. It's always the time of year where I get to go home and see family and friends that I don't get a chance to really see except a few times a year, man. That's part of growing older and moving away. So I'm really looking forward to Thanksgiving and to Christmas. Got a little trip coming up here to go to the beach. So I'm excited about that. But I hope everybody had a happy Halloween, man. Halloween is great. I love horror movies. For those of you who listen to this show frequently, you know my love for horror movies. I actually just recently watched Hellraiser 2. I had seen the first one. I had never seen the second one, and holy shnikes, that movie is a trip, dude. They don't make them like they used to in terms of the practical effects from the '80s, man. Like that movie had some of the greatest gory special effects I've ever seen in terms of practical effects. And in this episode, we talk a little bit about horror movies. I geek out with my guests about it, but yeah, Halloween's always a lot of fun, dude. Whether you have kids, whether you don't, that's what's fun about Halloween. You get to enjoy it as an adult. You can go to costume parties, and there's all kinds of bars and you know places to go that do costume parties. I know my hometown of Toledo. At least they used to. I don't know if they still do, but they used to do a zombie crawl back in the day with different bars. So it's fun, man. So I hope everybody had a safe and fun time, and you didn't eat too much candy. It's funny, you go to the store and they trick you. You know, you get those bags of the mini candy bars, and you have like 10 of them, and you're like, I just ate three candy bars. But yeah, dude, I'm excited for the holidays coming up. It's always a mad dash at the end of the year with my job, just being in the financial realm of things with my day job. So it's going to be crazy, I think, the next few weeks. But like I said, the good news is I get some time off to spend some time with family, and I'm grateful for that. So yeah, man, I hope that you guys are all doing well. I hope that you close out the year on a high note, and that you set some goals going into 2024. Don't wait till New Year's to start making some changes, whether it's with your mind, your body, your spirit. If you want to make a job change, a career change, if you want to start a business, whatever it is, man, this is a great time to really start fleshing that out. It's the beginning of November as I'm recording the intro and the close to this week's episode. So I hope that everybody has a great closeout to the year, man. And for me, it's been awesome to see the podcast continue to grow. So I do want to say thank you to everybody who takes the time to like, subscribe, share the episodes, tell your friends about it, leave a rating and a review on either Apple or Spotify. All those things go a really long way in helping the show get out to more people. So if you do enjoy what you hear on this show, taking the time to do any of those things, sharing it on Instagram, socials, it really helps out a lot. So to everybody who takes the time to do that, know that I really, really appreciate it. And there's some fun stuff coming up with the podcast pretty soon here to close the year, which I will divulge when it happens. But I'm just grateful to connect with all of the awesome people that I've been able to for this show, both listeners and artists and guests alike. And speaking of awesome people, these guys on this week's show are awesome. Their bands are awesome. I met them through another guy who's been on the show multiple times, who's also really cool. They are none other than Joey of Psycho Mantis and Josh of Split Image. Both of those bands are out of California. Split Image is a crossover hardcore band. Psycho Mantis is a metal band. They both have new music out. Psycho Mantis just dropped their EP, Cerebral Labyrinths, at the end of August, and Split Image did a split with the band Slingshot, which just came out at the end of September. That split is called Invaders from Uranus. You gotta love that. The artwork is sick. The music is sick on both of them. These guys did a Cali run the first weekend of October, going to Stockton, Fresno, Murrieta, and Spring Valley. And as of this show releasing, Split Image and Slingshot just did a run of shows in Utah, Nevada, and Arizona right at the beginning of this month, just this past weekend. Really, right now, as I'm recording the intro and close this, but as of it hitting your ears on Tuesday, they just did it. But these guys are awesome, man. I really love both of these bands a lot, and it's been fun to, really have the opportunity to put these guys on the podcast. Dylan from Reelverse Productions and Slingshot. I first got in touch with him, gosh, almost 2 years ago. I think it was around either the end of 21 or the beginning of 2022, right around that time. He's been in my wheelhouse, and he's a great guy. He does Reelverse magazine. He's done short films. He performs in Slingshot. He also records music. He recorded Keith Allen's EP. Um, and he's done music videos for both of the bands on this show. Split Image and Psycho Mantis also did a tour doc last year, which he was on the show for with Joey. So Dylan's a great dude, and we talk about him on this episode. Joey and Josh got a lot of respect for him too. And it's just really cool, man. There's a collective of bands. Corpus was just on. They're part of this collective of California bands, man, that is playing really awesome shows, getting kids to come out and have a good time, doing regional touring, putting out great music releases. There's really dope artwork involved, which we get into on this conversation. And it's just fun when you connect with good people. So Joey and Josh, I mean, we talk about everything from the touring that they've done. We talk about the new music that they've done. We talk about rather the cool artwork involved in these releases, and we also geek out on video games and horror movies on this one as well, man. And I learned about where Psycho Mantis's band name actually came from. So without further ado, I'm going to shut my big yapper and give you guys my conversation with Joey and Josh of Psycho Mantis and Split Image, respectively. But first, as an intro to that conversation, because we got two bands on the episode this week, I'm going to give you guys the single Sloth from Split Image. Here it is.
It's just not right. He uses hate to fill the void. A life of nothing, a life
Well, Joey, Josh, thanks again so much for taking the time to do the podcast, dudes. I really appreciate it. I know both your bands have new music out right now, and you guys just did a weekend run in California with Stockton, Fresno, Murrieta, and Spring Valley. So happy to get you guys on. Thanks for joining the show.
Yeah, of course. Pleasure to
Thank
be
you.
here.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. And before we officially get rolling, why don't you guys let everybody know your names, even though I just said them, and
Got it.
what you play in your respective bands, and then that way when you're talking, people know who's speaking.
Okay. Um, my name's Josh Escobar, and I'm the vocalist of Split Image.
My name is Joey Marsh, and I'm the guitarist slash vocalist slash like band leader of the band Psycho Mantis.
Just as a place to start, like Joey, obviously, you've been on here before, and Josh, you were giving me a rundown of how you got into Split Image and how you know Chris and those guys. But what's it been like over the last couple of years since the pandemic out there? Because it really seems like from having Corpus on here, from having Slingshot on here, Joey's been on here before. I've had Keith on here. There just seems to be a really cool community that you guys have, and the shows look a lot of fun. And I know Dylan has done music videos for you guys. Corpse Dust just came out for Psycho Mantis on Friday the 13th, and I know Sloth came out
Yeah.
about a month and a half ago, and that was a cool live music video. But what's that been like for you guys, just to be part of a cool community out there, where it seems like there's just a lot of fun going on right now with good shows and good camaraderie between all the groups?
I'll start this one.
Yeah,
um,
I'll just let you.
I got you. No worries, man. I'll give you a minute. It's been great, actually. During the pandemic, it had slowed a lot of concerts and performances because of the virus and all that. And I think the last show we played together, right? It was the first show that we played together, right, Joey? In March at the Whiskey Babes bar.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was like the last show that my band played in 2020. And after that, it was, a lot of, concern over, getting sick, and eventually they locked the country down. And we had planned to do Split had planned to do a tour at the time in the following year of 2021, and we planned to use 2020 to play shows and to do recordings for a EP that we had set up. And so we just decided to work on recordings, and I think we recorded the drums, I think late 2019, because we had some songs left over from the previous band, DVT. And so we used that, we integrated that sound, and we did some recordings that year. It took a long time though, because of different issues with members and conflicts and all that. And eventually we ended up getting that out. I think it was 2022. And so, bouncing back from that, it's pretty difficult in 2020 because, everyone was, that were playing shows were, being shamed to not play because you don't want to spread everybody to get sick and all that. But, as we're saying, like eventually when things open back up, time goes by, the scene has a way of coming back. And so, Solaris had been a brewery, I think, I'm not sure, 2019, 2018. It's my guess because I didn't hear about it until about 2020, 2021. And one of our former members had mentioned it to us. And so happens that in 2022, it opened up for local concerts. And so, there was a few of us left over from the original vault scene from, like, 2010, 2011. Joey and I used to frequent that place, as well as, Christian and Julian from Corpus came a little bit later. I think he was at the My House days because Chris has low budget productions, and he uses that for recordings, but he also used that for organizing shows. So, from us that were at the vault, we had no place for a while, and there was like a small place called the Dial, and that was a cool place for a little bit, but eventually all the venues, disappeared. And in Hemet, there was the Wheelhouse. That place eventually disappeared. So, Hemet was the only place having house shows because in our area, the cops always, raid the shows. So we had to depend on that for a while. And, it was really cool that things kept going. And now it seems like there's a resurgence in the scene, and it's slowly coming back to the way it used to be, where there's like now a scene and younger people are starting to attend the shows. That's how all the bands started. So It's actually been great. The community here is pretty tight. Everybody knows each other. Some of us who've been here, and then the new people, that constantly attend the shows, and that's what keeps the scene going. So, Dylan's doing a great thing by, doing music videos and helping all of us out. He's the film guy, and we're really appreciative of him. He does a lot, and his band Slingshot's great too. We dropped what is it, Invaders of Uranus, and so the Sloth music video was a compilation of the shows that we had did, I think from March and then on, I think to like June or July. I'm sorry, I could have the dates wrong, but Dylan had decided to do that for a live music video. And the previous ones were, set up with like, different takes and different settings. And so, yeah, we were really appreciative of Dylan doing all that for us. And we did that split with his band. The previous year, we did a split on a single with Psycho Mantis. We did, what was it? Uh, I think it was Cancerous and Disintegration. And so, going forward now, we just got back from the Fresno run. It was pretty good. Stockton was an interesting place. Never been there. I used to live up in Northern California, but I've never been up to Stockton. I used to be in Sacramento. So, um, it was our first time there. We played at Art Collective. It was really cool. Uh, one of the bands that Joey hung out with yesterday, they're called Renezla. I think they're from Bakersfield. We got to play with them. It was pretty cool. She's really nice, Mars, and the rest of her band. We played with them in Stockton, and then the next day we played a mixed bill in Fresno with a few other ska bands. One of the bands was actually from Joey's area, The Odd Advantage. And so it was cool running into them there. And then the following day, we played Solaris with Slingshot. And then I think a band called Feed the Beast from LA. They were pretty cool. That was Ty Trujillo's new band, the son of Rob Trujillo from Metallica. So it was cool to meet him. And it was a good show. And then the following day, we played the Bancroft Bar in San Diego, Spring Valley. That was a cool place, very cool stage, and chill vibes and all. But yeah, no, we had a good 4 day run, and it was a lot different from last year's 2 week tour. But we had a blast, and so yeah, no, I'm really happy with what's going on with the scene, and I've been calling it for years, saying eventually we're gonna have a venue back. I just don't know when. Time went on, and eventually Solaris became the new place. So, it's great because it's a brewery. And the vault, years prior was a music like recording studio and shop. So this place is a brewery, so it has, 21 and up shows, but mostly they're all ages. So, it's pretty cool. And, we're grateful to have a place to play because that keeps the scene going. So go ahead, Joey.
Yeah. Can you guys hear me all right?
Yeah.
Your
Okay.
sounds great.
Okay, cool. I was gonna say, like, having the community and everything, like having such a large community and such a lot of like fellowship and like camaraderie with like other bands and stuff really makes the whole thing like more enjoyable to do and also more fun. And it also kind of keeps us on our toes because I feel like we're constantly like trying to be better, or like, oh, these guys did this, so now we need to start doing something like that. And like, it's a healthy competition that pushes yourself as a musician as well. um yeah, I think the community is the whole reason why I think any of us even started to try to make our own music and play shows in the first place. So it's nice to have that and like a place to facilitate that and be able to play together and stuff. So sick. It's awesome. I like it.
Yeah, you mentioned the healthy competition, and I think I touched on this with the Corpus guys as well, which is just that, I think trying to be the best at whatever it is that you do, whatever it is in life is the most important thing, but also like it doesn't benefit you at all the older you get. I don't know, maybe some people it takes them a while to learn, and some people know it from an early age, and I'm sure a lot of it has to do with how you're raised too. I digress, but like tearing other people down is never going to be a way to like propel yourself. And I think it's really cool that you guys have a collective of bands that all support each other, go out to the shows, play shows together. Like that Death Fest lineup was really cool. And to see to see you guys support each other is important, because at the end of the day, I think that's really what it's all about. To go, wow, I loved what Split Image put out. Our next EP, we got to make sure we bring it too. Versus like,
Yeah.
those guys suck, we're the best band in California. You know what I mean? Like that attitude doesn't get you anywhere. So I think it's cool that you guys have that. Has it always been like that amongst all these bands, like in terms of you guys? And I mean, not to name names, but had you guys been in previous circles where it wasn't always as friendly as it is now?
Hmm. I think I don't know. I can't really speak for like towards that for like the bands that we used to go see, like at the Vault and stuff. But like as long as I've been playing shows, like all the bands that we play with that are from our area are all super supportive and like excited to hear like new music and stuff. But as soon as we play like anywhere else, it kind of becomes that whole like, who are these guys? Like, who are these guys coming to play in our area? And but I don't mind that so much because that just makes me want to play better anyway. Makes me want to perform better, and yeah, I don't really mind.
Yeah, out in our area, everybody's supportive of each other. There's like a few bands that I guess you would say don't really come to the local shows, but and then there's a few others that are from the area that only play outside of the area. But you know, that's what they do. That they don't really come to the shows. That's okay. Maybe they will eventually. Who knows? But for outside of the area, I haven't really encountered too many bands that were like a little, I guess you would say, come off a little bit insecure, like, oh yeah, we're better and this and that. I haven't really noticed that. I think the last time I noticed that was Hollywood. It was a few months back. We played over there at Art Collective with Slingshot and Corpus, and so there was like, it was funny because the way that it was set up, there was two parts of this building, and the venue I think was called Powhouse or something, and we played in the art side where they have like a gallery. There are people from the other building next to us saying like, "Oh, I hope that you do well tonight because we're going to totally steal the show." And it was like, "Huh, that's kind of funny." We were out of towners, obviously. We don't live in LA, but we live not too far away from it, and I thought it was kind of interesting. I didn't personally hear the comments, but my drummer and a few other people in the other bands heard it, so it's like, oh, it's, I guess, kind of welcoming, right? But yeah, no, mostly other bands are, interested to hear how we sound, and from what I've noticed, most of them are supportive. But occasionally you do get that one or two insecure bunch, and I would say that's not really benefiting all of us, but to each their own.
And not only that, those bands are usually the ones that don't last.
That's true.
Yeah. It's usually the ones that are like really nice dudes and like come up to you and like try to get to know you and like network, but like basically anybody who like tries to network and actually like build relationships and stuff, those are the bands that usually stick around. But the ones who act all like better than everybody and like their shit doesn't stink, like they're the ones that you stop hearing about. So
Yeah, I love Seven Dust is one of my favorite bands, and I remember LJ, their singer, I was listening to an interview with him one time where he said, you know, kind of talk about what we're talking about, how important it is to be good to people. And they're still a band that I think bands in that, modern metal, modern hard rock world, I don't think anybody really wants to follow Seven Dust even to this day, because they always crush it on stage. But he said, make sure you're good to people, because the people you see up, the people you see on the way up are usually the people you see on your way back down. So that I always thought that was a really good quote about humility. As you get where you're going, you should always be good to people in general, not just because especially not because you want something from them, but just in general, just to be a good person is important for anything in life. But yeah, I think it's really cool that you guys have the community that you do. Now, these shows that you guys just played in Cali, you mentioned that was your first time in Stockton. What about the other venues? Were those all first time places in terms of places that you had played before? Because I know Murrieta, you guys have done shows in before, right?
Yeah, Marietta's the go-to place.
oh,
Good.
you want, oh okay,
Yeah, man.
so we hadn't played in Stockton before. That place was cool. The area was a little rough. It actually made me appreciate living in Hemet. uh, but we had played Fresno before on the previous tour that we did together. So that was cool. It was like familiar. It was like familiarity and like seeing old friends kind of deal. Same with Murrieta because obviously we just played there. And was it June? Death Fest was in June,
I think
July.
so. I think it
Yeah,
was June.
yeah. And I've gone to a bunch of shows there in between before we even played there and stuff. Um, but the Bancroft was new as well. So Stockton. So the first show was new, and the last show was new for us. I liked the Bancroft a lot. That place was cool. It was hot as fuck though. So,
He's totally right. It was like a sweatshop. I don't know
yeah,
if they have ventilation back there or what, but
we were all shirtless by the end of the set.
How do you guys scope out venues, man? Is that Josh, you mentioned earlier that Chris uses low budget productions like like does he use that still for like booking, or how do you guys find out about places to play? Is it just sort of word of mouth?
with Chris, usually Chris does the booking. I think it's something he picked up from his very first tour with DVT. He learned how to do it because of his experience. And Chris is kind of like the go-to guy with a lot of stuff. So he scopes out the places. I think usually through social media or doing research online, and then he contacts them to see if they'll host the show, and then he actually organizes and sets up all the bands to get on the bill too. So um, I believe he scoped out the band Crofter. He'd heard about it from word of mouth, and then decided, okay, why don't we play there? I think because Slingshot played there like a few weeks prior. So if it's not heard through word of mouth, then he scopes it out and organizes it. Like we're going in November on another 4 day run, I think, Weekend Warrior, and we're going to Utah, and from Utah we're going Las Vegas, and then Arizona, and then back home. And we didn't get to play Utah last year, and so the place that we were set up to play last year, we set up again to go play there. It's called the Beehive in Salt Lake City, and so we're gonna go play that place and check it out. But Chris normally looks up the places, and I had heard about the Beehive prior to the tour. I watched like a Vice documentary or something related to that like a few years ago, and they talked about organizing and setting up that place. And the owner like turned it into like a vegan bistro slash like venue, and so one side's a restaurant, the other side's like a stage and hangout spot for the bands and crowd and all that. So I was like, oh, that's cool. But yeah, usually Chris will scope it out, and Joey and Chris organized the tour last year, the 2 week tour. So whatever were the places to play, they usually set them up. But yeah, some research goes into it.
Yeah,
Yeah, 'cause-
I
go
think
ahead.
just sorry. I think also just like going to shows, you kind of like pick up on like, oh, this would be a cool place to play, or this place would suck to play at, or like it's just like you also just got to be active not only as like a band member thinking about your band, but active as like a music fan and going and seeing other bands and stuff too. It means all the difference.
Yeah, he's
It kind of goes back to what we were talking about a minute ago. It's like you never know who's gonna open what door for you or whatever.
networking.
Look, quite literally in that regard.
Yeah, he's right. We're there's a skate shop in Fullerton called Program Skate and Sound, and they get really popular shows.
I
And
want
so
to play it bad.
yeah, I was thinking of what if we played like a dual bill or something um, for that place. And so
That's like a bucket list place for me.
yeah,
How much fun was it for you guys, especially doing this last weekend run that you did at the beginning of October, with new music coming out? Like you mentioned, Josh, you guys just did that split with Slingshot, Invaders from Uranus, which I thought turned out really well. Codenamed SummerSlam, No Way Out, and Graveyard Junkyard, which Slingshot, Corpus, and Is a Garden were all on that one. And then
yeah,
Joey, you guys just had your new EP come out. I think around the end of August, when we first got in touch to do this,
Yep.
Cerebral Labyrinths. Like, How cool was it to be able to do this run of gigs and have new music to play as well?
You want to go, Josh?
Yeah, go ahead, man.
No, you go.
All right. It was great. Yeah, the bill was awesome because it'd been almost a year, not exactly, but almost a year that we played together on that tour. And last year's tour was a lot of fun. Going all the way up to Washington and back home. We hit like I think 4 states. What was it? Like Oregon, Washington, Utah, and then actually yeah, Nevada and Arizona. So no, it was a lot of fun, and doing this again, and got a little bit of sense of that, and it felt like a continuation to that tour because we didn't get to play the last show on that tour, so it was great that Psycho Mantis stepped in and went with us to go play that, and it was great having friends again, going back and playing again because we had our ups and downs last year and stuff, and some members we had back then we don't have anymore, so it seemed like it was a lot better because everybody was on the same page. And releasing new music, it was cool to debut new material and play these new songs. We No Way Out and SummerSlam and Psycho Mantis and their release was really killer. And just to throw it out there, that music video they dropped is really cool. I just watched it last night and I was like, oh yeah, this is sick. Made me think of if you ever heard of a band called Green Jello. It made me think of that, the way it was stylized and all that. It was awesome. But yeah, no, we're glad to get out there and play these new songs and everything. You can go, man.
Personally, I was really proud with the release of Cerebral Labyrinths. Like, I was really stoked on those songs. I think those are the best songs that we've released so far. And not only that, but they're just more technically challenging. So, like, going out and playing them live at first was like, oh shit, are we gonna be able to do this? Like, it's kind of crazy. And then after, like, the first show, like, we kind of were like getting used to it, and then by the second show we had like hit a groove, and then it was good from there. But yeah, it's just it feels really good to play new songs because I felt personally that we were just playing the same songs all the time, and just I was getting kind of sick of it, and I just wanted to change it up and like kind of come up with more of a set that had a little bit more of like a flow and like peaks and valleys, and like one leads into the other kind of thing. And I don't know, I was starting to think a little bit more thematically, or like, I guess, like, not, I don't want to say theatrically because that makes it seem too artsy, but yeah, something along those lines. Like, I was thinking more of a performance aspect rather than let's just play this show. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, let's put on a show. But no, yeah, I was really proud of those songs. So to be able to like go out on the road and show them to new people live and everything was a sick opportunity. So Cerebral Labyrinths, like, that song is like, it's like my pride and joy. So
Yeah, I love the slow guitar parts in that one too. Like you said, you get really technical on Cerebral Labyrinth as a whole on the EP, but I like the slower guitar on those too because some of my favorite metal songs, like Metallica has numerous songs like that where they have like a cool slow guitar intro. I've always enjoyed that about like thrash metal in particular. Mixing those parts in or mixing more like Megadeth, I felt like always kind of mixed in. I'm trying to think of the word, like ethereal type of vibes. I don't know if orchestral vibes is like the right word, but a technical element I think is always really cool.
it's funny
Yeah.
that you it's funny you mentioned Megadeth because that's like my favorite fucking, that's like the biggest inspiration for me when I write music usually is like Megadeth. Well, like, just classic metal, like 80s thrash metal, and even like 90s like death metal, and like all that stuff is like what we kind of draw inspiration from, and like specifically Megadeth for me. So like so thank you. I
Yeah.
appreciate
Yeah.
Megadeth's awesome. That it's funny because when I first moved here, I wasn't really introduced to thrash, but the band that got me into thrash was Megadeth. I found them when the VH1 used to do that. Was it? I think it was like something from the '80s, and they used to do all the music videos. And I remember it was Peace Sells that got me hooked on them, and after that, it's like it got me into metal. Then I met Thrash Kids, and I found a bunch of other great bands, Death and all that, and it usually starts with one. I had already known Pantera since I was a kid. That's one of my biggest influences, and because my dad was like a punk rocker and he liked metal and all that, so I was introduced to all that stuff. I was raised on like what was it? The first four bands that I was raised on that I can remember is AC/DC, Black Sabbath, Led Zeppelin, and Van Halen. And so, that kind of like stems my influence. And then, obviously the 60s and 70s, 80s music and all that. But yeah, and then as far as for the songs that I was excited to play, No Way Out is a great song. It's pretty much like a fuck you to all the haters and shit, excuse me if you can't curse. But the second one was Codename SummerSlam. That was the one I was really thrilled about because it was, we were trying some different stuff with the vocal pattern. And then it was more of like, I guess you would say a message, because I'm all about, like having more friends than enemies, and just, everybody being close together and shit, and I noticed, that one went out to like the media because I feel like it like pits a lot of all of us against each other and we should all be helping each other because in my opinion, we are all we have, you know what I mean? So that was like one of my favorite tracks. And I was excited to get that one out because it's something different. I think it was like the most I guess you would say mix up in terms of, change the vocal style and just in general it was different. So, for that one I was pretty excited to do. So
No, it's cool, man. Yeah, I really enjoyed both of the releases, and even going back with Split Image with you guys putting out Sloth. I think it was in July, and then Prey on My Downfall and Cybernetic Warfare were March. Those were really awesome as well. But the artwork for both of your guys' new releases was sick too. Cerebral Labyrinths was really cool, really intricate, and then the cool, almost kind of like movie poster to me anyway, kind of design of the split with Slingshot was really cool. Who did the artwork for you guys?
I'm not 100% sure on who did it. I think it may have been an artist that we gone through that did what was it? That did the sloth, but I could be wrong. Did the sloth artwork? It's a guy in Indonesia who's always we've always gone through Fiverr through an artist over there, and they do a really great job. So it might have been that guy. I'm not 100% sure who did it, but I totally dig the Thanos artwork, because I like Marvel. But yeah, no, I like the way it came out. Definitely looked like a movie. It looked like something Dylan would do. You know what I mean? It looked like something he had sanctioned. So I thought it was pretty cool, but I'm not 100% sure at the moment. But yeah, I'm
Yeah.
looking forward to seeing what comes next.
It reminded me of like old 1950s like science fiction movies. It's like Invaders from Uranus, and like it was cool. For us, like uh, so like when we originally started writing that EP, we wanted to make it a concept album, and because like we like a lot of progressive stuff too, like Rush and Opeth and all that type of shit. So I wanted to make it a concept album about like altered states of consciousness and like dreams and stuff. So when I was looking for an artist to like kind of represent that kind of look, and another a dude in another band that we know from out here, this dude Mark, I think Mark Bell. He used to play in this band Brain Eater, and he used to play in Madrost. He has his own solo project, and he had gotten artwork from this guy, and it was just like super intricate and crazy, and like I don't know, it was just I liked it a lot, so I like reached out to that dude, and his name is oh god, it's like Ungun Yulianto. Like it's always like Indonesian guys or like dudes from Thailand who do all this sick art for like bands out here. But it's like UNGUNN dot YULIANTO on Instagram. And he just does these really crazy intricate line work on I think it's like ink and paper at first, and then he scans it and then he digitizes it and like adds more detail and shit. So, and he actually did three different versions of that artwork for us too. Like the one that's on the cover. was supposed to be like sleep. It was supposed to be like the thing is like sleeping, it's unconscious. And then there was one where like, because if you look, it's like an eclipsed like sun, and then there's
Yeah.
one of it rising, and then there's like all these details of like light rays shooting out, and then there was one of it like high in the sky and like casting light on everything else. um but we liked the one of it sleeping, and it kind of just was like, it fit the tone of the album a little bit more too. And I ended up designing the booklet for like the CD. And if you open the CD, I used the other artworks for it, like behind the lyrics and stuff. So
Oh, that's pretty sick. I gotta see that. um, as for artwork, the sloth artwork was an idea. I usually try to come up with ideas for either T-shirts or album covers or whatever we end up doing. That's kind of my forte. I come up with ideas. I'm the idea guy. So um, for Sloth, I was trying to figure out because I think we're trying to pursue a concept album on the Seven Deadly Sins. A lot of our themes tie in either with like, global issues, mental issues and struggles, things that are personable, and that aren't really mentioned, to like, I guess you would say, esoteric views. One of our songs, Demon Hunter, is about basically conquering yourself, also known as conquering one's demons. You know what I mean? Just different stuff like that. And for Sloth, it's kind of, what was it? Mostly about trying to figure out what would be great for the Sin of Sloth, because you can't really look. You can look up the image and you're not really going to get much. And for that, I thought of, what is the biggest example? What could be the biggest example for it? Because they mostly just say laziness or just sleep. A guy who sleeps a lot. This and that. Oh, that guy's a sloth. You know what I mean? We knew somebody that was like that. But as for the artwork, I thought, well, why not make it something? A guy who's extremely neglectful. A guy who thinks he knows so much but actually knows very little. Look at, he speaks so much, but look at how his plans turn out. And so I figure, why not come up with something related to that? Super neglectful, right? Or responsibilities. And so that's where the artwork of the dude sitting in the chair smoking a cigarette with a fire on the floor, and have his like bathroom leaking water, his kitchen on fire, and he could care less. That's basically the takeaway I thought of. Okay, why not? And this was something I had thought of prior, because I'm like, okay, how would I do this, or how would it be? And so the image or view I had for that, it was funny because the way that it's set up in the artwork is reversed from how I had thought about it. It's funny. It was actually the fire, I think, on the right side, and then the kitchen on the left, or vice versa. It's one of the two. And so it was like mixed, but it came out exactly pretty much how I thought about it. And I was pretty stoked with the way it came out. So it was that Indonesian guy who does our artwork. So we're looking forward to having him do future stuff for us. But yeah, normally I try to come up with the ideas for either shirt design, or what is it, album cover design. And so based on what I hear, like if a song registers, like, oh, I hear, oh, this sounds like this could be about, uh I guess, theme, like, oh, we could have it be like this or have it like that. Like Codename SummerSlam was an upbeat song, so I figure we make that like, more about like something like a Rage Against the Machine vibe. So originally that song was going to be titled Media Attack, but we thought SummerSlam sounds way cooler. And so that's where that came from. That doesn't have a t-shirt idea yet, but No Way Out, I already thought of one for that. And most of our t-shirts are either, we don't have like any album or EP shirts yet, designs for that, but we do have song titles usually. And so we just go about it like that. But yeah, we're cooking up some more ideas for stuff. So yeah.
Yeah, I think the artwork is sick that both your bands are doing, and the sloth artwork too. I pulled up y'all's Instagram while you were talking about it too, and I had seen it, but yeah, it was cool as you were walking through it, because it's kind of like something out of a like a comic book too, that you would see from like back in the day, from like the 50s or 60s, you know what I mean? So I think it's cool how it kind of looks like that, like it could be a strip out of a comic book.
Yeah.
But that's like, and it's got sloth at the bottom, so it's almost almost kind of like a tarot card or something in that regard too, where you like you know what I mean, whatever that card is at the bottom. So I think it's
That's
cool. I think all
th-
that stuff would translate well to t-shirts and stuff.
Dude.
thank you. I appreciate that. Real quick, I just want to mention it is tarot card design because seven deadly sins, but also what was it? What you just said with the way that the artwork came out. Another influence behind it that's very similar that we tie off to it. SoCal Legends Black Flag. We wanted to go for that. So, when we saw, we're like, oh yeah, dude, this looks like Black Flag. This is fucking sick, like, the slip it in artwork or not damaged, but I think it was like loose nut and even I
Fam-
think the very first one, nervous breakdown. But thank you. Yeah, go ahead, Joey.
Oh, I was saying Family Man, like the Black Flag
Yeah.
artwork. Yeah. I was gonna say like one of my favorite movies is Seven, which is also about like it's like the serial killer who kills like the seven deadly sins or whatever, and like Sloth is I think Sloth is the one that's like the dude in the bed with all the.
Yeah.
I was like, that would have been just a sick shirt, just that picture of that guy. Um, but no, it also that Sloth shirt also reminds me of you guys into Sublime, like
Yeah, I like Sublime.
their self-titled album. I remember in the booklet, if you open it up, or it might be on the back cover, they have artwork on that one of like a clown sitting in a chair, and there's like beer cans all around him and like a bong, and like it reminded me of that. Yeah, he's like wearing his underwear and they're all dirty and watching porn. So it reminded me of
I haven't seen that one, but that's cool. And thank you,
that.
man.
We just got shirts with the Cerebral artwork on it, and then we actually we had done a previous shirt for our song Eternal Witness that was like it's like a portal of skulls and like these like mages floating around, and I actually got the idea from the Mortal Kombat stage from Mortal Kombat 2, like the portal, and there's like those hooded monks like floating. And I was like, what if we just did that but made it like crazier? And this dude Filth Effigy did it really well, and we did a shirt of that. We actually just went through him to do a new shirt that we haven't shown off yet or anything, and it's going to be our first like full color design and also something with a back like a back design as well. So yeah.
I'm a big fan of his shirt, the Eternal Witness. My brother didn't have a Psycho Mantis shirt, and he wanted one, and so I figured I'd throw it his way because we both like video games. My brother was like addicted to Mortal Kombat, like myself. I play the new one, and so when I saw that shirt, I was like, "Yeah, this is badass. That's what it makes me think of right here. It looks totally like Mortal Kombat." And so I ended up getting the white shirt Joey has right there, and so yeah, that shirt's sick. That shirt's sick, and that game is sick.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we get our name from a character from Metal Gear Solid. So when we first did shirts, we did like this is like the logo on the original Metal Gear Solid for the PS1. It's like a white cover with just the red logo. So we did the same thing just with our own band name. And those games are called like Tactical Espionage Action. So we changed it to Tactical Espionage Metal. And
it's
now
That's
we
awesome.
put that on everything. That's like our tagline.
it's killer. I totally support that. I was so glad they had one extra shirt in my size because I get to rock it now.
At the show at the Bancroft, it was so hot in there that I took my shirt off and it was like just drenched in sweat. So like, I went over to the merch booth and I've never taken any of our merch for myself. So I was like, it's about time. I'm just gonna take this shirt. I usually wear an extra large, and this was a large, and it actually fit. So I was stoked.
Yeah, that was
Did,
killer.
did Metal Gear Solid have like the clown riding around in like the ice cream truck or something? Or am I just
No, that's
pretty
Twisted Metal.
Twisted Metal? That's what I'm confusing it
Yeah,
with.
That's a classic. That game's awesome.
it's like the stealth game with like Solid Snake and the giant like robot tanks and stuff that are like nuclear weapons. I don't know. It's hard to describe.
It's a pretty sick game.
It's
It,
the greatest. It's the greatest game franchise of all of them, and it's the best. You should go play them. They're actually what's the date today? The 15th.
Yeah, 15.
Next week on the 24th, they're re-releasing all of the first like 6 Metal Gear games for like modern generations. So play that shit.
I hope it's out on PC. Just to add to that, I totally support that game. That game's great. I didn't get into it until like the fourth one that came out like 2008 when I just got into high school. And that game, yeah, Guns of the Patriots was it's great. And I wish that it was on PC because that's what I'm on right now is a computer and I play on there. So, but actually, what I thought was really cool. If you have you ever seen a movie called Escape from New York? It's a cult movie from the 80s. It's got Kurt Russell in it.
Of course.
Classic. Yeah, if you've seen that, the character in Metal Gear Solid is kind of based off of, or very, no, I would say based off word for word, but influenced. Yeah, he is because the eye patch and like, he's a badass and he handles guns really well. Basically, Kurt Russell's character Snake is what influenced Solid Snake for Metal Gear Solid. So just think of that.
In Metal Gear Solid 2, you play as a different protagonist, but you run into Solid Snake, who's like the usual protagonist. And when he introduces himself to your character, he's like, the name's Iroquois Pliskin. Which, like, in Escape from LA or Escape from New York, his name is Snake Plissken. And Iroquois is a Native American word for snake. So his Snake Plissken. Yeah.
Yeah, it's badass. The scenes for that are cool. And so, like, what was it? One of my favorite directors from the 80s and late 70s or mid 70s is John Carpenter. He gave us movies like Halloween with Michael Myers, To the Fog, and Christine, the car that tries to kill you. And then eventually you get Big Trouble in Little China, which basically influenced Mortal Kombat. Because if you look at it, there's like 2 characters in that movie. Then one of them looks like Raiden before Raiden even existed. And then there's another one that
Chinese
I think,
guy.
Yeah, and then like the sorcerer dude is the influence for like Shang Tsung and Mortal Kombat. And so like the dude John Carpenter influenced like a ton of video games, like and everything basically.
And the Thing, like
the thing.
Yeah.
That's a classic right there. That's one of my favorites.
My favorite's I like the Fog a lot.
That's a good one. Yeah.
However they got the fog to move like that, it's just really creepy. Looks like hands like reaching out. Spooky.
I
Yeah.
think that's Tubi right now. Tubi is like a haven for really cool old horror movies. I feel like, especially for being a free service, like it's got a lot of dope old horror movies on it, man.
I gotta check it out.
Yeah, I've heard of it. I haven't used it, but I definitely heard about it. I know that a lot of the old classic horror movies, it's funny, some of that stuff also ends up on YouTube. Once or twice you'll have a burner YouTube account and they're super cool because they'll just put the whole movie on there. If you had a YouTube account in like 2006, 2005, you could upload like, what was it, like 5 hours plus, and then when you have a new account, they only limit it to like I think an hour. But yeah, you have those cool accounts that like just have like different movies uploaded and stuff. But yeah, those are classics.
Okay.
Good.
I was just watching Bram Stoker's Dracula on YouTube like the other day.
the one with Gary Oldman?
He posted the whole thing. I'm like, sick.
Was that the one with Gary Oldman and Keanu Reeves?
Yeah, dumbass Keanu Reeves, yeah.
Dude, that movie's great. Classic right there.
It's awesome, but like Keanu Reeves' like fake British accent is so bad in that movie.
Hey man, don't hate on Keanu. I love Keanu. Keanu's the man. He's like, if you read stories about like what a nice dude he is in real life and stuff, it's pretty wild for somebody of his fame. Like he's a really humble dude.
Yeah, he's cool, but he couldn't act in the 90s.
Is just in that or in Speed too?
Out, man. I don't want. If I run into Keanu in the future, I'll be like, "Hey, man, Joey said that. I didn't say that. I love you, Keanu."
He was just Ted in every movie, dude.
No, dude, was he Ted in River's Edge? That one?
I don't think I've ever seen that one.
Oh, bro, yeah. Okay, that's a serious tone movie, but he has like that "What's up, bro" type voice. It's so funny. He plays the thrash kid. He plays the thrash kid in the 80s, and like pretty much the movie's premise is centered around like a guy who has another friend, and then they all know a guy who ended up like murdering like his girlfriend, and so like they're all like trying to process how it happened and all that, and so. But it has like a killer soundtrack. The movie soundtrack's done by I think Hallows Eve. It's a band
Oh,
from yeah, and so like one of the big songs I think they play, it's called Lethal Tendency, I think. That game's yeah, that song's awesome. But yeah, no, I can see what you're talking about with his acting. I think like my favorite movies of his from the '90s are Point Break and The Matrix. But
Point,
Johnny Mnemonic was cool too.
Point Break rules.
Yeah, yeah, he was a badass in that movie.
And then I do love Bill and Ted. Just not the third one, but the first one.
Yeah.
Be excellent to each other. That's the long last quote from that. But yeah, River's Edge, wasn't it like 87 or something? Wasn't a young
Yeah.
Crispin Glover in that one? I think I
Yeah.
saw that years ago.
He's like a
Crispin-
kid. Yeah, he's a kid in that movie. He's like the edgy guy that's like, oh, let's go hang out with the serial killer dude. He's like driving around in like a Volkswagen buggy blasting metal, and it's like, how'd you get that sound system in there?
All so young in that movie. Yeah, because that was I think before Bill and Ted's. I think I think that I don't know if that was Keanu's first movie. It had to be one of his first movies because they all had baby faces in that one. Super young.
Yeah,
Super young.
they all were thrash kids.
Oh yeah.
But
It's
going back
always
to the thing
nice-
though, man, the thing was that's still one of my favorites too. To me, that's a perfect example of why I think practical effects compared to CGI. Not that I hate CGI, but when you see the practical effects in that movie, like where it starts to absorb the dogs and it's like morphin, they walk in there to check on the dogs and it's like
Oh, the thing? Yeah.
Yeah,
you can see like the dog's snout like coming through like I mean it's so
it's
cool. So cool.
it's visceral. Like that movie. Yeah, I remember watching that. I rented that movie from a library when I lived in Mission Viejo, and they had it at the library. And so I was like, I think 8 or like 9, and I rented it. Didn't know what I was getting into, and I had already been hooked on horror movies since I was like 5. So like that didn't really go away. And so yeah, I remember watching that movie and just being like floored by like what's happening, like what is happening, and who could have done it better than John Carpenter, the master of basically horror, like in my opinion, one of the best because of how many things he's come out with and how much of an impact his movies have had on video games, just in general pop culture and stuff. And most of his stuff is cult movies, like Assault on Precinct 13 is a classic too. But yeah, definitely like The Thing. And then also the remake, I thought, or not the remake, it was like the prequel. That was really cool. But here's the worst part. If you ever look up a documentary, it'll tell you that there was a practical effects shot version of the remake, or sorry, the prequel to The Thing, and the studio scrapped the prequel, and it was already filmed out and everything. And the guy that did the filming for it did all of his research on the original film to get his sets to mirror it exactly. And that version never came out. They did a petition like I think 5 or 6 years ago to try to get it released, to get the studio to release it, and the studio head said no, and that's why they went the entire way with CGI. In my opinion, if you can blend practical effects with CGI and make them work, I think it can work. But it's sad that they scrapped what could have been like a really good follow up. But apparently, they're working on a sequel right now, and I hope that sequel turns out really well because it'd be really cool if they had, for example, Kurt Russell's son play his character because that dude does a really good job. If you watch that movie Overlord, he's like the second main character in that movie. It's like a Nazi zombie type movie. It's pretty damn good.
Sick.
Yeah, he was a badass in that movie, and that showed like, oh yeah, this dude could totally play his dad's roles.
He's also he's in Falcon and the Winter Soldier, that fucking Marvel show.
Oh yeah, he did a great job too.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm more of a traditional effects guy. I like for a good example it would be like do you see the new It's like chapter 1 and 2?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I fucking hated the first one because of how much CGI was in it. And it just was bad CGI. It just looked like shit. And it just took me out of the movie. It just doesn't make it believable at all. Like, I don't know. But then one dude that uses both like CGI and traditional is Guillermo del Toro. And
classic.
a good example of that is in that movie Crimson Peak, with like the dude who plays Loki. There's ghosts and shit in that movie, and like they're all super like wispy and ethereal, and like you can see through them and shit. But those were actually actors in full on like body suits, casts, and stuff, traditional effects, and then he used CGI to make them like see through, and
Oh,
like
I
that's super sick. But yeah, when it's just a big CGI monster, it's just like, oh, that's fake.
It definitely takes away from it. I haven't watched that, but if you guys have watched Cabinet of Curiosities, oh
was
man, like that
Watched
shows. What was that?
I watched like the first two.
The first one was really cool, but I'll tell you what, I like Lovecraft's works. I don't know if you guys ever watch. I wish that there would be like a take on like trying to adapt his stuff. It seemed like that show did it really well. They did two stories. I think one of them is like Dreams in the Witch's House, and the other one is Pickman's Model. And both of those are like I think the best stories out of all of those because obviously they have source material that's like 100 years old, but like beyond the source material, like the way they did it, like Del Toro is a fan of H.P. Lovecraft, and that genre of like void horror or like what is it, dimensional horror, like it's not really a tapped. That's like I think the last frontier for horror because basically everything else is like tapped into and stuff. But
Yeah.
yeah,
I
no,
I I love Lovecraft and everything, but my favorite Lovecraft stories are the ones that don't have anything to do with like space or like Cthulhu and shit like that. Like
yeah.
there's have you ever seen the movie Reanimator? Like that
Oh,
horror
dude, yeah, great movie.
H.P. Lovecraft story. I'm not a huge fan of that movie, but that director, every single one of his movies is based on an H.P. Lovecraft story. And he has another movie called Castle Freak that's based on a story called I think it's called The Stranger. And basically like the how the story it's a very short story and it's about like this dude who's lived alone his whole life in like an abandoned castle, and one day he decides to like go and leave, and he stumbles upon like these villagers having a costume party, and he like goes into the party and he's like having a good time and everything, and then suddenly everybody starts to notice him, and they start looking at him like horrified, and he looks into a mirror and he's like a monster, like legitimately a monster, not a costume. And then
Uh-huh.
that's the end of the story. But this movie took that and wove it into like this story of like an alcoholic father who like got a car crash and accidentally killed his youngest son, and like he's
Ooh,
trying to like bring his family back together, and like it's fucking really good. You guys need to see it. And
I'll probably watch it.
they
oh,
made a shitty remake on Shutter, and then they tried to involve the whole Cthulhu shit into it, and it ruined it.
Uh,
But yeah,
that makes sense. I have high hopes for uh, what was it? Del Toro's adaptation to the Beyond the what is it? The Mountains of Madness.
yeah,
I hope the best for that. I think he
he's
released
trying
like
to
a clip
make
of
years.
like what would have been like a snippet of it, and it's like a thing like walks up to like this cave, and this dude's in a cave, and he looks over, and this thing just like what looks like an alien like morphs into something else with tentacles, and then just picks the guy up, and it's like in a quick succession. But it's interesting on how it played out, and I have high hopes for that dude adapting that movie and also adapting more of the stories. I think one of my favorites because I've listened to a couple audiobooks. That's how I've heard some of his stories. And I think one of my favorites, there's two of them. Actually, there's a bunch, but Dagon's one of them. That's basically about like a fish
Yeah,
god
the
in the
fisherman.
ocean. That it's funny because if you tie it in like that, I have a feeling that dude was like I don't know, that dude might have been channeling or something because that Dagon's like a historical figure going and like even in the Bible, and he's supposed to
Yeah,
resemble like he's like an ocean deity, like supposedly like the father of the ocean type thing, and he's like all these fish people and all that. So stuff to do with that. It's like I think the ancient Acadians or something. But anyway, there's like a tie into that, like a mythology and history, and so that's really cool. Uh,
yeah,
there's Dagon, the Shadow of Innsmouth, about a guy who like realizes eventually that he's actually like mixed race and actually part of these fish people and all that. But anyway, it's interesting. I like the way his approach to it. But yeah, like Joey said, some of the best ones actually have nothing to do with Cthulhu mythos. One of them, I think,
Yeah.
is called like The Lurking Fear, and that's about like I don't
Yep.
know, like imp/monster things under like this place that make people disappear and eat them and all that. It's crazy, but anyway, I just think like that dude's stories are like the best when it comes to like horror because it's I don't know, he takes a scientific approach with his writings. That's why I like it. Comes off like an
Yeah.
author, like a traveling like author who like
Like an academic.
that's right, an academic, and
Yeah.
he puts it really how do I puts it together really well, like a believable story. Like that
Yeah.
show Craft Country was actually pretty cool too because it showed some of his stuff in there too.
My favorite story of his of all time, and I've read that it was also his favorite story of his own work, was The Color Out of Space.
Oh, classic.
And I hated that fucking movie. But my Psycho Man, my band, one of the first songs I ever wrote was a song called Color Out of Space, and it was based on that story. And like we've never released it or anything,
I think
but we might because I've always liked it a lot. It's got like one of my favorite riffs I've ever written and everything. So
I think now that you've mentioned that to us, I think you got to release it with some artwork, with a
I
T-shirt
did.
design. It's sick.
I even bought artwork for it like a long time ago when we were gonna release it, and then we just never did.
Dude, I want to see this and hear this.
Yeah, one day,
That's
one day when we
badass.
run out of material.
That's cool.
It's we got it on the record now, so I feel like you gotta you gotta put it out, man.
All right, let's do it.
Hell yeah, looking forward to it.
It's a lot different. It's very Iron Maiden-y.
That's cool.
Yeah. But yeah.
Well, dudes, this has been a lot of fun, man. I really enjoyed having you guys both on, and especially geeking out on horror and stuff. Just given the time that this is, that by the time this everybody hears this and it hits their ears, it'll be probably early November. But in the spirit of Halloween and everything, man, it's cool, and I think that's what's cool about heavy music in general. There's always been a really cool link between horror and heavy metal and heavy music. But I think it's cool the tie-ins with the artwork and everything that you guys are doing too. But Joey, yeah, definitely go back and revisit the Cabinet of Curiosities. I'm actually getting ready to rewatch it here soon myself because it's a really good series, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And actually, there's one probably think like halfway through. Josh will know the one that I'm talking about, where it's kind of like this consciousness alien type thing. That's like the best way I can describe it without giving too much away. And it's actually really, really cool in terms of the practical effects during that episode and kind of the nature of it. It's pretty sick. It's pretty awesome. It's like a short film, honestly.
Is that like the parasitic nature one you're talking about?
Yes.
Yeah, that one's gnarly. That man, they got good actors for every single one of those episodes. And I can't wait for the next season they do.
That
Absolutely.
Was that one. My brother loved that one.
Yeah, it was messed up.
I just don't have Netflix ever since they updated their fucking password shit. I'm not paying for it.
Oh, you were sharing somebody?
Yeah.
I'll send you something possibly, see if you can find it.
Shit. Hell yeah.
Yeah, I'll yeah, might have to use your laptop, but yeah, I'll send you something.
Definitely send it to me.
Yeah, it sounds good. Another thing I want to mention too, absolutely in the spirit of Halloween. If you haven't watched the new Hellraiser, it's really good. That one from last year, oh dude, like I don't even know how to say it. Like I was supposed to watch it last year and I had a bunch of delays and I got around to it like a month or two back, and it was like the best like adaptation of Hellraiser I've seen. And they like try to follow like the book and the influences and the themes from the book. And I thought it was really good, and I hope that that director comes back and does it again. He did a movie called The Night House a few years back, and that one was also really good too. Like it's on its own as a story. It was really good. That guy's really good with his the way he does his shots and story, and so definitely give that one a check too.
I liked it a lot.
It's on
Yeah.
Hulu. The Hellraiser.
Yeah. That one's killer.
Dude, Hulu's been killing it with their like movies, dude. Like Prey was fucking sick.
I haven't watched that one. I don't think. Is it
Dude,
the Nanobots one?
The Predator, the new Predator.
Oh yeah.
It was awesome.
That one had some pretty cool scenes in it. And then
Sick.
I think they're doing the Alien series next year too.
Really?
I
Oh
think
hell.
so. I think so. It's gonna be good. Yeah, that
I
was one thing I thought was pretty
I
stoked.
love Alien, but not so much Aliens. So
How about Covenant, Prometheus?
yeah, I like those two. It gets a little too high concept and doesn't really make a whole lot of sense, but it's cool. I like
I
it.
think I think Covenant was like better than Prometheus. That one
Oh
had a really good horror vibe to it.
yeah. I My favorite thing from Alien is that game Alien Isolation. If you ever played that, it's fucking perfect.
That game movie is what I've watched for it. I have it. I just haven't played it, but I know I'd freak out because they incorporate was it from the first movie that malfunctioning
Crazy.
android. Yeah, the android's trying to kill you. And then on top of that, you have to avoid the alien and crazy like people that have lost their mind on the space station too. Some real Dead Space vibes right there.
They
But
programmed the AI of the xenomorph to constantly adapt to your gameplay too. So like if you'll like hide in a lot of lockers to like get away from it, it'll start checking lockers or like it'll start looking under tables and like you eventually in the game if you get a flamethrower and like at first it scares it away immediately and then after a while it'll just like run through the flames and kill you if you use it too much shit. Like you got to constantly like adapt to survive. It's fucking cool.
yeah, they made it smart, just like the movies. I think those are my favorites growing up. Was what was it? Alien, Predator, and Terminator.
Yeah,
Basically, all three of the first movies were like basically horror or horror action of some sort. But yeah, yeah, no, absolutely great ones.
Terminator
And
2, man.
it's
Goddamn.
Terminator
like
1 and 2, best.
And Salvation.
I like that newest one that came out.
Oh yeah, Dark Fate was good too. Yeah,
Yeah,
the
that
only
one was.
really bad ones are Genesis and 3,
Yeah, those were
but even 3's like good compared to Genesis.
Yeah, yeah. And then they also added the alien in a game. I don't know if you heard of it called Dead by Daylight. And the alien, like basically, they have like different skins for it. And it's funny because one of them looks like I think the one out of Resurrection a little bit, where it looks like it's like like a human slash alien with a skull face. But this one just looks like a human slash alien. But
I
yeah,
like
they put it in there.
I liked how they did the Xenomorph in and the Predator, but mostly the Xenomorph in Mortal Kombat X.
Oh yeah,
And
that's cool.
they made it like what if a like a Tarkatan like Baraka like was like impregnated with the xenomorph so it had like the arm blade stuff like
Yeah,
fucking cool.
yeah, that was badass.
Event Horizon is one of the greatest like
Oh,
space horror
Hell,
movies. I
classic.
tell everybody I know about that one who says they like horror. I'm like, if you have not seen Event Horizon, because feel like for some reason that one slips through the cracks with some people.
yeah.
Um, I don't know why. I don't know how it was received when it came out, but man, that is such a good slow burn. That movie, it is just so awesome. And
Yeah.
some of the lines, that like where we're going, we don't need eyes to see, and you're like, oh, just gives you the chills. It's so good.
It's just
That
funny that movie because like all of the promotional material makes it seem like it's going to be like Star Trek or like some kind of science fiction bullshit, and then it ends up being Hellraiser in space. It's fucking gnarly.
it's
Yeah,
funny
Maybe,
because
maybe that's
there's
why
a
it didn't go over well, and I don't know if it did. I'd have to go back and look to see how it did. I might Google it real quick, but
it,
maybe Joey, to your point, maybe that's why if it slipped through the cracks a little bit in terms of not
yeah.
being a box office smash, it might be because people thought like, oh, I thought this was going to be Star Trek, and it ended up being like Hellraiser. And
Yeah.
I thought it was awesome.
Dude, that movie's a classic. I thought it was funny because I got introduced to that movie. I think it was like 2011, 2012, and this dude that I knew, another dude, this guy let me this movie. I was like, "Hey, what is this about?" And he's like, "Oh, it's like Star Trek, Star Wars." So I was like, "Okay." I decided to watch it at like 3 in the morning, and I'm like, "Oh, this is not like this is not like Star Trek. This is not like that at all." Like, and then yeah, and oh, dude, it was great. It was one of those like the best movies. They had a killer cast and all that. And then I looked up that movie, and apparently they're going to be doing some adaptation of it like coming up soon. And then the biggest crazy thing I saw with that is apparently there was like 17 minutes of extra footage
Yeah.
and they like didn't add it to like they everybody wants a director's cut because that's also a cult movie too.
They're
And
already the director's cut.
yeah, does it have like the 17 minutes of extra footage?
I think it's got like some of it. I don't think
Oh,
it's just more of the like torture sequences and shit.
yeah, they had like I gotta find that and watch it because it was funny. I saw that, what was it? There was like a strip of like 17 minutes of the cut footage, and they found it like damaged, non-recoverable in like a salt mine in like, I don't know, like Czechoslovakia or something. And I'm like, why is that in a salt mine? You know what I mean? It was just kind of funny, but it made no sense. But
Some kid, some kid was told that it was like Star Wars, and he got so upset that he dropped it down a mine.
he's he specifically cut the 17 minutes of footage out so nobody ever could watch it. Only he
There's
could.
not a single lightsaber in this movie. This is bullshit.
He took it away so none of us could watch it. Yeah. But I don't know. That movie's a classic, and I look forward to seeing what else they do with that. But I know there's a lot of resurgence of like the classic movies coming back, so we got a
Well,
lot to look forward to.
I feel like that style of like space horror stuff is coming back, like with the remake of Dead Space and everything. Like, yeah, it's cool.
Callisto Protocol.
Yeah, and Bloodborne. Yeah.
There's a lot of cool stuff going on. I feel like in horror and sci-fi right now, and a lot of the best stuff in general just seems to be shows. I mean, nothing against like going to the movies is still really cool, but there's just so many dope shows out right now. Because like I remember when Prey came out, and I that's one that's been on my radar too, and there's so much cool stuff. I haven't had a chance to see that yet. So hearing you guys talk about it now, I gotta watch that because I just got a new TV. My other one just took a crap after 8 years, and I need to get signed up on Hulu on there so I can check that out and check out the new Hellraiser because I remembered seeing the trailer for that Hellraiser because there was another one too. Correct me if I'm wrong, right? There was another one that came out recently.
Bloodline.
Okay, okay. So this
Yeah,
one
it
is
was
Don't watch that one.
that this most modern one has like satisfying special effects, satisfying homage to the original characters.
Yeah.
Even the main character, you can try to pick him apart. Not the main character, but like the main antagonist. You could pick him apart and relate him to like two characters from the original old ones, and there's a lot of that. And they did their homework. And what I liked is that they brought something new to it. Like, I think I won't give it away, but like the way that it happens after, like one is bound to die, I think that is like the craziest, most foreboding like imagery that you see. Like, oh, it's insane, man. Like the reality that you see, it's no longer that, and the way it happens, it's ridiculous. Like, you'll see what I'm talking about, man. Like, it's got an effect, and you're like, oh shit, that's a bad trip right there. That's the best way to put it. But
like
yeah, no, it's great.
trouble sleeping after I watch. I'll message you both, because you're both a couple hours behind me too out there in California. So we can talk through it. Hey
For
Josh,
sure.
this has been a lot of fun, dudes. I'll obviously put up the links in the podcast description, and everybody definitely go check out Cerebral Labyrinths from Psycho Mantis. Check out Invaders from Uranus from Split Image and Slingshot. But thanks again for joining me. This was a lot of fun, and I'm really happy that you guys have the collective you have out there, and really enjoyed the new music myself. But let everybody know where they can find you if they're not aware.
Um, my band page on Instagram, Split Image CA. We're on Facebook, Twitter. We're also, our music's on Spotify, Apple Music, I believe Deezer. Just look up Split Image on there and you should find it. Check out our new material. We got another thing we're going to be dropping before the end of the year. One more single, and then we should have another music video at some point. Yeah, give us a follow there. Hope you enjoy our music. And yeah, thank you.
So we have Instagram. It's psycho_mantis_metal. And then we have Facebook. I'm not sure. I don't run it. I don't care. Basically, I try to focus on our Instagram and our YouTube. So like our YouTube is at Psycho Mantis like 6605. We just posted a new music video for our song Corpse Dust off of Cerebral Labyrinths. I want to try and do a music video for each track on the EP. So we're working on one for another track soon. Try to do each one a different type of video though, not just like yeah, I got ideas. And then just find us. You could find us on any streaming service, like any music service there is. We're on all of them.
Yeah, our Instagram split image CA. That's what it is. I believe it might be the same on Facebook. But
yeah,
thank you for listening.
Dude,
yeah, thank you for having us, dude. This is fun.
Yeah.
Welcome.
You know, we're starting to get show. I forgot to mention this real quick. We are starting to get bigger shows now at Solaris. This place has basically become the new Vault because the Vault was the spot for us. We were growing up in high school and stuff. And so Solaris is the new spot. They just had who was it? DRI play here like a week or two ago, and now they're gonna have the Cro-Mags, but the singer got sick, and now next month they're having Agent Orange and all these big punk bands from SoCal and just in general, you know, New York City. Yeah, dude, Agent Orange next month.
Who are they playing with?
I don't know. I gotta look it up. We're trying to get.
I gotta go to that. That's like the one punk band that I haven't seen that I've always wanted to see.
Come
And they
out.
play all the fucking time. I've just never seen them.
We gotta watch it. One of the big things that we're trying to do is us to jump on these bills. You know what I mean? Both our bands in general, trying to jump on these bills for our area. You know, because these are the big bands now. So basically, I'm noticing old heads from back in the day are starting to come back out and find the new spot. So yeah, we're looking forward to that. But thank you for having us on, man.
Yeah,
we'll definitely come back.
Yeah.
Do this again.
You're welcome. You guys are welcome anytime. Like I said, I'm a fan of what you guys are doing, and I just think it's really cool that you guys have the community that you do out there. So I'm glad that somehow through the internet and Instagram and all that, Dylan found me. Whenever that was in 2021 or 2022, and we've been doing these shows now, man. So it's really sick.
We should probably shout out Reelverse Productions too, and Dylan and Slingshot. I'm using my phone, so I can't look up his Instagrams or anything. But
here, I'll look it up real quick.
I believe it's slingshot.band. I believe is their Instagram. Yep, slingshot.band is
okay.
Is
Yeah,
Instagram.
I was gonna say that guy. He's becoming an integral part of our community for sure. He's done a bunch of videos for us. He's done all of Split Images videos. He's done Corpus's video. He does everything for everybody. It's awesome. He helped me with the whole design and layout of our merch and all that shit.
Dylan is, I guess you would say, in my opinion, a visionary because basically what he's doing, you know, music videos, and he had his Reelverse magazine and, you know, his company and all that. Like what he's doing is like crucial to, you know, music scenes in general. And hopefully we get more people to, you know, be like him and help him out, you know, and all that. You know, whatever he does because, you know, he cares about all of us and, you know, we're appreciative of him. He helped us out a lot on tour too. So, you know, he's the guy. And yeah, he's a great guy. His Instagram is Reelverse Productions. His personal is The Real Dill instead of The Real Deal, and there's 2 underscores in between. And yeah, definitely check out his band Slingshot. You know, check out our friends Corpus, Mr. Fister, Titan's Wrath, Rinesla. Go ahead, Joey. Throw in there.
Meatbird, Brain Eater, Philosopher, Druid. So that's all I can think of right now. Oh, Happy and Hemet. Yeah, all those bands. The Odd Advantage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a few others offhand right now that I can't think of them at the moment. Green Terror. Shoot, who else? Basically, like the area. Oh yeah, Vacancy. You know, all these other bands stuff. Yeah. Spitball. I know I'm forgetting some, so you know, if I don't mention your name, you know, thinking about you in spirit. but yeah.
Well, dudes, thanks again so much for taking the time, especially being a couple hours behind us on a Sunday. And thank you again for your patience too, Joey, and taking some time to get this up with my grandma's passing at the end of August and everything. And I was I was sick for a good chunk in September, and really I'm still trying to get back to 100%, man. But it's always good talking with you guys, and you guys are welcome back here anytime, man.
All right. Thank you, man. Appreciate it.
Absolutely, man. Thank you for having us. Definitely be
Yeah.
your guest.
You're welcome. See you guys. Have a great rest of the day.
Yeah, you
All
too,
right.
man.
Alrighty, dighty, there you have it. That was my conversation with Joey of Psycho Mantis and Josh of Split Image. Make sure you go follow these guys on Instagram at Split Image CA, and you can follow Psycho Mantis on Instagram at psycho_mantis_metal. The links to all of their stuff will be in the podcast description for this episode. So just scroll down to the bottom of that podcast description, hit those links, and go follow and support my buds in Psycho Mantis and Split Image. You will not be disappointed if you love metal, if you love hardcore, if you love headbanging, great lyrics, great musicianship, great artwork, all of it, man. These guys give you the full package A to Z. And I'm not just saying that because they were kind enough to come on this show. I'm really impressed with the friendships, the musicianship, the regional touring, and the music and the artwork that these guys are cranking out there in California, from Psycho Mantis to Split Image to Slingshot to Corpus, everybody out there, man. Like, I think it's really awesome that I've been able to connect with such great people through Dylan initially, and be able to give them an opportunity to talk to you guys about what they're doing out there, because it's really special and really cool. And I think it's awesome to see, bands exemplifying that statement of high tides raises all ships. These guys are supporting each other. They play shows together. They go out to each other's shows. Dylan did the music video for Sloth, which you guys just heard at the beginning of the show. He also did the music video for Corpse Dust, which is one of the songs off of the latest EP from Psycho Mantis entitled Cerebral Labyrinths. So, it's really cool that these guys collaborate together, that they work together, they play shows together, they hang out together, they do tours and show runs together, man. So I'm just really, really blessed to have the opportunity to, give them a platform on this show to talk about their art and what goes into it, and talk about their friendships, man, because that's what it's all about. It's about lifting each other up, not even to sound cheesy, but that really is the message of this show: perseverance, moving forward. And I think it's really cool that not even to call it a scene, but that they have this collective out there creatively where they're all, you know, building their audiences and doing what they love to do. I do this podcast because I love to do it. I love having these conversations and giving them to you guys, and they love making the art that they make, man. So I just want to say thanks again to Joey. Thanks again to Josh. It was great getting you guys on the show. I really appreciate you giving me more than an hour of your time, especially being a couple hours behind out there in California with me here in Nashville, and getting up on a Sunday morning and doing this with me, dudes. It was a lot of fun. Excuse me, I swear every time I do these things, I always end up having to like burp at some point, and I don't want to burp right into the mic. So, anywho, this one was a little bit of a longer episode, so I want to make sure I don't rant too much here at the end, other than to say, once again, go check out Split Image, go check out Psycho Mantis. Both of them have new music out now. The aforementioned Cerebral Labyrinths just came out at the end of August, and Split Image did a split with Slingshot called Invaders from Uranus. That one just came out at the end of September. Both of them have awesome music on it, and go check out Slingshot as well. Once again, shout out to Dylan and Reelverse Productions and everything that he's doing with his band Slingshot and with Reelverse. It's really awesome. The links will be in the podcast description as well for Reelverse. So yeah, man, I'm just really excited to do this. This is really awesome to be able to connect with other great people out there, and of all the craziness and vitriol that exists on the interwebs, it's nice to know that I'm able to carve a niche where I can have a positive platform and connect with other positive collaborators, and creatives like I have with these guys. So thank you to them. Thank you to all of you for listening. Once again, you can follow me on Instagram at March 4th Pod. My YouTube channel is at March 4th Pod, and my website is march4th.podbean.com. The link tree with all of my stuff is in the podcast description for this episode as well. So if you were a first time listener and you enjoyed it, feel free to connect with me on my socials. Feel free to like and subscribe and share. It helps get this show out to more people. And ultimately, that's what I want. I want to put more people on the Psycho Mantis and Split Image. So thank you to you for hopping aboard that pirate ship. And on that note, I'm just going to say I hope that everybody has a great start to their week and a great finish to their week. And I hope that everybody has a happy Tuesday. Keep the faith and be kind to one another, courtesy of Psycho Mantis. This is the final track off their latest EP, Cerebral Labyrinths. This one is called Pavor Nocturnus. Peace.